Hello Bulldogs, welcome to another McFadden Chat. I'm Kellie Dietrich with the DeSales Minstrel, and joining me is Allison Krall and Erin O'Neill, who have been interning at the Journey Home Art Therapy Program. The program helps former and current convicts of the Northampton County Jail reintegrate back into their community. So why do you think it's important for women to have programs like the Journey Home?
It's a really good outlet for them to just kind of focus all of their negative energy, just kind of release all that tension that's maybe been built up throughout the day or throughout the week. And we were talking to one of the COs while we were at the jail, and he was telling us, and we had been doing research before, that these programs actually pretty much only benefit the women in the jail itself. When they have these programs and they participate in these programs, there's less fights and there's less arguments and stuff within the cell blocks. So we're hoping to put together a proposal to give to the jail director to make these programs mandatory for the women, because they're not. And a lot of times their jobs in the jail will conflict with the times that we have these programs available for the women. And we just want to get as many involved as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's a typical day like at your internship?
Usually on Mondays and Tuesdays we go to the studio, and then Wednesdays we go into the jail. So on Mondays and Tuesdays we show up at 5:30 and help Bonnie set up for the art therapy session. And then at 6 o'clock the women come down and we go around and say our names and how our day's been. And that's like our time to talk about any difficulties or good things that happened to us in the day. And if there's a lot of people, we usually go next door where there's a bigger room for us to sit in rocking chairs and learn more about each other. And then we always go through the rules, which are things like we can't talk about college, and the women can't talk about jail, so that we focus more on our similarities and less on what separates us. And we can't talk only because she wants us to focus our energy and everything that we're thinking about into our art and not necessarily just express it in words.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Bonnie tells us what the project is and we finish the project, we show everyone in the group what we did and why we did that, and then we talk about as a group how the project affected us. And we always help clean up, and then we just come back on Tuesday and then prison on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was it like being inside the jail for the first time?
I thought it was interesting. In class, a lot of times we'll watch documentaries that take place inside prison, but it's a completely different experience and atmosphere when you're there. So when we walked inside, we probably only went as far as walking from like the stairs of dueling downstairs and then like out the main entrance. But we went through about like 7 locked doors that had to be opened by other COs and different passcode combinations and stuff. So they're very big on security there, obviously, because it is a jail. But it was also kind of upsetting because when the women come down to the studio, they come in normal clothes. And half the time we forget that they're even prisoners. So it was a little upsetting seeing them like in their jumpsuits with their little ID cards. But the uniform didn't define them at all. They were still like the same people that they are when they come in normal clothes.
What have you experienced during this internship that you weren't expecting?
Well, growing up, you always assume that people who are in jail or prison are bad people, but working with the women, you realize that gray areas are definitely prevalent, and that the women that we work with are completely the same as like we are. There were only differences that they made one mistake, and they are so commonly defined by that mistake by society. And we then see them as that and nothing else, but we take out everything else that they are. When we make mistakes all the time, but we're never defined by that one mistake. We're defined by who we are and like all characteristics of ourselves. And I feel like I learned that society is very strict with them more so than they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was telling my mom the story about what had happened. Just like while we were at the studio, and she was like, "Oh, like is that one of your friends from school?" And I was like, "No, that's one of the women from jail." And she like made this face, and I was like, "They're not bad people, Mom."
Yeah.
Like, you know. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, Erin, Allie, thank you for joining me today,
you.
and thanks for watching DeSales.